Right, great. So today we are going to talk about the fifth lesson, which is the operating system. All right, so it's better you take your textbooks to yourself. So I'm going to state you some of the points from the textbook, which you have to copy down to your textbook, right? So as a short note. So it's better you get prepared to write things, right? So you can put the main heading as operating system as it shows in your textbook, and get prepared for the get prepared for the note take down part. And I'm not going to write to the notes during the class. I will highlight the things. So take a pencil and highlight it on your book. And you will be copy down those things to the your textbooks once we done the class, right? So okay, so let's begin. I think the screen can be seen by everyone. So in this lesson we are going to talk about how the operating system works, and what are the classification of those, and what are the functions that we need to know when we are talking about operating system. So like operating system is the main software where we can find in any device. Otherwise the like without operating system, any device won't be able to function, because the operating system is the very first software which is being loaded to interact with the user, right? So before we jumped into the operating system part, your textbook tells you how the computer is booting up, or how it initiates the operation to give you an operating system. So this is the procedure which happens once you press the power button of your computer and until the operating system appears you, right? So this is the scenario which is happening once you press the operating system, once you press the power button until you get the operating system screen. So what is the first thing is happening, as it says, once you power up the computer, that means when you switch on, or like once you press the power button, the very first thing which is happening is the CPU is activating the BIOS, the basic input output system. Now this BIOS is inside a IC, integrated circuit, in your on your motherboard. So it's a little chip, right? We call it a BIOS chip as well, which is on your motherboard. So it will having this basic input output system. We call this a firmware as well. So like when we talk about the BIOS, we call it a firmware. Firmware is a thing, or like a hardware which contains a small software inside it, right? So that is manufactured by the manufacturer. So we are not being able to do changes for the BIOS. So instead of that, we are making the changes for something called Cmos, right? Complementary metal oxide semiconductor, right? So what is really happening when you press the power button, CPU sends the signal to activate to the BIOS, basic input output system, and BIOS will activate the POST. POST is the very first program activated inside a computer, which is called the power on self test, right? So POST will refer the CMOS, right? So CMOS is another firmware where it stores the things when you initially set up your computer, right? So the initial setup will record some of the things regarding your computer system, like the system time, system date, and number of hard disk that is connected to it, and the details about the RAM, details about the CPU. And this is not a screen which you are going to meet each and every day when you are powering up your computer. CMOS is something little bit different. I'll show you a CMOS screen, right? Right now, this is the Cmos battery, or like in generally we call it the computer battery, which powering up the Cmos chip in all the times. Even you are shutting down your computer, that battery is sending the power to the Cmos chip, right? So like this particular thing where you can see it is the Cmos chip, right? So which you can see at your right side. So this Cmos chip is powered up by this kind of battery. We call it a Cmos battery. So it is because it has to keep the things in that mind in their storage, even though the electricity is disconnected, right? So if your computer is indicating a time change each and every time when you are starting your computer, so most of the cases this battery is dead, right? Because of this, because of the death of this battery, it causes the CMOS to clear the things that we have stored. Yes, yes, Minu. So you can see it on the motherboard when you assembled it, right? Even you can remove and replace it once the battery is dead. You can replace one as well. So the changes for the CMOS can be done by the setup of the computer, right? I'll show you a setup screen as well. Oh yeah. I don't know whether you have seen something like this, right? So as it illustrates, it shows you CMOS setup utility. So like from this, you can do the changes. You can choose the hard disk boot priority, or like the boot priority to your computer. Like boot priority means which device that the computer should look for the operating system. So normally it's the hard disk, right? But when you are like installing the operating system for the very first time, or if you are booting your computer from an external device like a external hard disk, you can change the order, right? So you can say first look into a pen drive, then look into a hard disk. So if you have a bootable pen, you can connect your bootable pen to a USB of your system unit, then you can press the power button. So it will first look into that pen drive, then look into your hard disk, right? So like if the pen drive, if the computer found an operating system inside a pen drive, it won't look into the hard disk, right? So we can change the things accordingly. Yes, 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 Minu. So it is in the BIOS now. Still, again, hold on. Yeah, in the computer. Yeah, so actually, Minu, it's not the BIOS that we are. It is in the BIOS setup, as it says the BIOS setup, but still we are uh, in this screen. Also, you can see the advanced BIOS feature. So we are actually changing some BIOS without changing the BIOS, right? Because CMOS and BIOS are interconnected. So once you change the CMOS, it will get uh, uh, informed to the BIOS. This is the way it happens now, right? But we can't directly change the BIOS system. It's the CMOS that we can do the changes. Right. So as we talk about, so first the BIOS will get activated. So that BIOS will activate the post program power on self test. So power on self test will happen according to the CMOS memory. So CMOS check. CMOS says what is the first boot device, what is the date, what is the time, and what are the temperatures of the CPU, how many RAM modules are being connected, whether they are connected in the correct way or not, right? So the basic functionalities regarding the hardwares will be checked using the power on self test program, right? Then after it reads the MBR, right? Now master boot record is the place or record which indicates where the operating system is, right? So using that and the help of the bootstrap loader, they help to find the operating system, where the operating system stays in the hard disk, right? So as the third point says, after that it reads the MBR in boot drive in accordance with the firmware of bootstrap loader, which is provided by the computer manufacturer. So to get to know about the MBR, you need the bootstrap loader, the firmware. It's a firmware again, right? And with the help of bootstrap loader, it will find the MBR or the master boot record. So master boot record is it is on your hard disk, right? Stays as the 0th sector, right? I'll show you an image how it resides in the hard disk. Yeah, so if you take this yellow color bar as your entire disk or the hard disk, so disk partition are separated and partition table is there, right? It is talking about how many partitions are there, and MBR is in a reserved place, right? Then my computer or this PC කියන තැනට ගියාම we only see the partitions, right? So yeah, MBR in most of the cases it will take in megabytes, right? It's not a very big space it needs, right? It's only keep the track where in which point the operating system resides, right? So these disk partitions are the partitions that you can see, like C and D, but MBR you won't be able to see it in here, right? So, but MBR is a separated place inside your hard disk, which is not visible to you, but having the records about the operating system or the location of the operating system in the hard disk, right? And once the MBR is found, so MBR says the operating system to get load onto the RAM or the random access memory. So when the random access memory is having the operating system, then only you will be able to see the operating system at your screen. So until that, you will be having that loading screen until these things are getting happen. So once the operating system loaded into the RAM, you will be able to see the operating system. Then the CPU will hand over the control of the computer to the operating system to do the task to interact with the user as well, right? So it's better you remember this, and it's better you copy down this to your textbook. So it's better you write down the very first heading or the main heading, operating systems, right? And then it's better you copy down this thing, how the initial operation of a computer are performed. So all 4 points in the 129th page, right? Please mark it on your textbook. Pencilkin lakunu karaganna. And the very first point of the next page, which is the last point of that topic. Once this performed, the operating system takes over the control of the computer and displays a user interface to the user, right? Okay, so this is how the operating system is being loaded onto your computer. Okay, is it clear, people? Yes. Right. Okay, Saran, how about others? Right. Correct, Minul. If you don't have an operating system, that device won't get boot, right? Yeah, Sinura, it's better you write those things down to your textbook. Like I said, uh, the last 4 points of the 129th page, which you can see on the screen now, right? So mark it and write it on the write it at home after the class, right? So, and again, page number 100 and in the first point of the page number 130, right, which is the continuing part of the previous paras or the points. Right. So moving forward, then they have given the classification of the softwares right over here. And software basically divided into two parts, which is the system software and the application software, right? So application software are the softwares which we use day to day to do our works, right? So to get things done, we use those softwares, right? So to create a document, we use a word processing software. That means MS Word kind of things. So to do calculation, we use spreadsheet kind of thing to create an accounts and these things. And database, presentation softwares, web browsers, the games, the media players, and everything that we use to get our things done are called the application software. And other than the application software, you are given another category called system software, which has three parts: operating systems, utility software, and language translators, right? So operating system, as we talk, is a platform of the computer. So without operating system, you won't be able to run these application software, right? So application software needs operating system to get executed, right? And utility software, in the other sense, are the things which help us, or like which help the users and the operating systems to get their things done in a smooth manner, right? කරදරයක් නැතුව නැත්නම් අපහසුතාවක් නැතුව වැඩ ටික කරගෙන යන්න උදව් කරන කට්ටියට තමයි utility software කියලා කියන්නේ. So like you are having utility bills to your home, because why you are having utility bills? Because you are using the utilities. What are the utilities? Those are like water, electricity, right? All these things. So you won't use these things directly in most of the cases. Seran operating system is made basically using the C language, and now they are involving some other languages as well. So it is a very one big program, right? To do the things, to get things done by the users. Like we are making the operating system for the help of the users, and it is a one important software which need the devices to get execute the application softwares, right? So operating system is done in many different languages. Basically, they are based on the C language, right, which is the base language. Yeah, so like built-in utility softwares are there. I'll show you some, as well as we can have the third-party ones like antivirus softwares, right, Minul? So like utility software, in the sense, as I told you, those are the softwares which help us in the background to get our things done easily, right? So the one good example is the antivirus software in your computer. So antivirus software is there to protect your computer from the virus are being infected, right? So it will prevent the viruses are getting into your system. So that is one utility which is given for us by the antivirus software. We are not using antivirus software to do our day-to-day things other than the scanning a pen drive or scanning a external device, right? But apart from that, antivirus software is there at the background monitoring whatever the things that is being connected with the computer are carrying any malwares inside it. So if some suspicious thing is found by the antivirus software, it will alert us. Okay, there is some problem with this device or the device that you are connected recently. So please scan and confirm whether it is a good thing to use or good thing to take into the system, or whether we need to remove it or not, right? So antivirus software is one good example for the utility software. And there is something called task manager in your operating system, in each and every operating system, right? So that task manager is another utility software. So as you can see, this is the task manager, right? So task manager shows what are the processes or the tasks that you are carrying out for the moment, right? So as well as when it goes for the more detailed part, right, it shows you how the CPU is being utilized for these programs, and how many memory is being used, and how many disk storage is using now, what is the involvement of the network, as well as you can see some performance inside that as well, right? So likewise, we are not using these things to get done our day-to-day things, but it is given us the details if we need something about a services or some processes. Now we basically use this in most of the cases. We use task manager when we are stuck with a program, right? ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට ඔයගොල්ලෝ graphic editing software එක වැඩ කරනකොට computer එක ටිකක් slow වෙලා හිර වුණොත් computer එක stuck වෙන්න ගන්නවා. So on that case, you use the key combination Control Alt and Delete, right? Control key, Alt key and Delete key will be pressed together to take the task manager as the keyboard shortcut. So then and there, you can press on the specific task, right? And you can ask the task manager to end that task. So task manager will end that task. So if I need to end the Windows Explorer, I can select the Windows Explorer, and I can end that. Now in this place, it's giving me the function of restarting. So let me end this task. So photos, I end task. So my photos are gone. Photos task is closed. Minol, you have sent me a question. Does every operating system has a no? No. Yes, yes. So that is what we are talking about, Minol, killing a task. Seran, so don't the task manager get, no, task manager won't get stuck. But if your memory is really full and your machine is like having a very busy schedule, which is in a very very rare case, on that cases there will be places where you can't access the task manager. Still, when the task manager is called, it is given the highest priority by the operating system to make it as the top priority program and taking it to the top of the screen to interact with the things, because operating system knows if someone calling for task manager, it is something for important thing, right? Yeah, so Minul, OS will crash if you end the task regarding the OS, right? Or if you end a service regarding the OS, right? There are different processes which is there regarding the operating system as well. So if you kill one of those or end in the task of the operating system, then it will crash your operating system as well. That means your Windows is shut down suddenly. Operating system will shut down suddenly, right? So there are many things. So see the Windows processors, there are 103 Windows processors inside this computer, right? So some of the processors will not affect to the operating system, the entire operating system, but there are some processors, if you kill those, your computer will be shut down instantly, right? Which is not a good thing to do, right? Okay, so these are called the utility softwares, right? So what you mean by utility software? It helps us in the background to do our things easier, right? Okay, so apart from the utility software, there are something called language translators, which I can't show you in here. So the language translators are there to get involved with the programming languages. So because the programming languages are human readable format, are in human readable format. So, but the machine can understand the machine language, right? Saran, we can end the antivirus software service, right? It will stop your antivirus software being looking after your system, which is not a very good thing. But there are some cases when we are installing some programs, antivirus software may take that program as a suspicious one and will not let us install that into our computer. So on that case, if you really know about that particular software, you can pause or you can end the process of the antivirus software, and you can get that particular software installed, and then you can restart the antivirus software again, right? Okay, so the language translator, in the sense, as I told you, they are used to they have been used with the programming languages, right? So the programming languages are there to create programs, or like to create the applications that helps to the users. So once those applications are created, uh, the programmers will use to create programmers will use programming languages to create those applications, which are coded in human readable language. That means some language using English or Chinese, or there are no much things in Sinhala, but in most of the cases they are in English language, and as well as Chinese and Japanese, right? So they code it from those languages, which are the languages that a human can read, but machine can understand machine language, which means ones and zeros. So human readable language should be able to convert into a machine language to get understood by the machine, right? So for that particular purpose, these language translators are there. So assembler, compiler, and interpreter, right? So these about these language translators, we are going to talk about those in our programming language lesson, which is in grade 11, right? So when we come to that particular point, we talk about those in detail. So for the moment, just remember, assembler is there. Sorry, the language translators are there to convert the programming languages, or like the programs, or in other words, we call that source codes, right? So the programs will be converted into the machine language using the translators, right? So I need you to copy down this hierarchy as well. So please mark it on your book as well. So Omar, I think you just connected with us. So we were talking about the operating system, and I was mentioning some of the notes to be taken down to your notebook when you're at home. So please have the heading, which is the operating system, and please have this section copied to your textbook, how the initial operation of the computer are performed. So with that, these 4 points should be taken. And this one as well, the 5th point at the next page. No, actually the assembler, compiler, interpreter are the categories, Minul. Like Java will have a Java compiler, Python is having Python interpreter, right? So likewise. So in most of the cases, now we use compilers and interpreters. Assembler is, which is something old, that is for the assembly language, which we are not using very much. But compiler and interpreter are the things we use mostly, right? Those are categories, right? So there can be many compilers and many interpreters, but one particular program is not going to have a compiler and interpreter both. Either it is a compiler or an interpreter. Command prompt is a different thing, command prompt is something which we are interacting with the operating system. So in that, it is, yeah, maybe they are using, I really don't get into those. In most of the cases, it should be a compiler, because DOS is based on the C language. C is having a compiler, right? So it should be the compiler regarding the MS-DOS or the command prompt, right? Okay, so after these 5 points regarding the initiation process, so you have to copy down this particular hierarchical structure, or the this particular diagram, the software classification, onto your book, right? So please mark it using a pencil on your textbook. So in the latter part, they are talking about the system softwares and the things that we talked. And this is a one good diagram, and this can be, this has given in your examination as well. So it's better you go through what are the components of those. So this clearly shows how the system software is interacting with the hardware and the application software. So like system software is the middleman. So it interacts with the application software where the users are majorly interact with, and as well as the hardware. So whatever the instruction from the user is given to the application software, so that will be communicated to the system softwares, that means the operating system and the utility softwares, as well as the translators, and will be converted into the hardware to be understood by the hardwares. So if you are not having any system softwares, especially the operating system, that means you won't be able to, or like the hardware won't be able to understand what the application software says, right? So that's why this part is very important, right? So as we talked about, the utility softwares, they are just helping us by staying at background, right? And making our things much easier and much smoother, right? So like we talked about antivirus software, and disk formatting is one another service, right? So it will show us what are the storages and how to prepare those things, right? So disk formatting, and there are many, right? So like backup softwares are there, right? Again, when it comes to the disk partitioning, device manager, as well as disk management softwares. So those are like helping to the operating system to carry out the things in a smooth manner. Language translators, as I told you, right? They have said about the assembler, compiler, and interpreter, right? As the examples. So they just tell what's the purpose of the language translators. So as we talk, to convert the human readable programs or the source codes into the machine codes, right? So the language translators are used. And the application software, as we talked, those are the things we use to get our things done when we are using the computer, right? So in most of the percentage of the softwares, like over 95%, the application software are there. Like other 5% is belongs to these operating systems, the translators, and the utility softwares. Right, people, is it clear up to this point? Do you have any questions? Right, great. Okay. Okay, let's go forward. Right, so here they are talking about the importance of the operating system, right? So they have given us another diagram by showing how the human users are interacting and where the application software and other system software and hardware. So like operating system is a very vital part in this diagram. You can see it is the only box which has the connection with each and every other box, right? So operating system interacts with the human user, operating system interacts with the application software, and as well as the other system softwares, as well as the hardwares, right? So if this, I'm sorry, if this operating system absents, the connection between the application software and other system software and hardwares will be broke, right? So that is why operating system is called the platform software, right? So without that, no one else will be able to execute, as well as the users. We won't be able to interact with the computer without the operating system, right? Okay, so yeah, so since we are we haven't drawn this particular diagram, I want you to draw this particular diagram to your book, and under this importance of operating system, let's see what to be get down. Yes, Minul, it won't, because the operating system needs some specific free storage to execute, right? When you are having low space, OS won't be having the sufficient free space to get execute. So it will make the things slower. Yeah, it's better you take down the entire paragraph. So importance of the operating system, mark these people. So importance of the operating system topic should be there with this paragraph and this diagram, right? So that means 132nd page, under the importance of operating system topic, you have to take down those notes, this particular paragraph and this particular diagram. All right, so introduction to several operating system. Then after, so I think most of you have experienced some of these operating systems. So Microsoft Windows, which we are experiencing now, right? So it is done by the Microsoft Corporation. So they have started the operating system from MS-DOS, or like the Microsoft Disk operating system at, as I remember, in 80s. Doesn't matter, Sarah. Let's go with our procedure, right? So, so Windows is done by the Microsoft operating system, and it is a licensed one, right? So you have to pay and take this, right? You can't have the Windows operating system as free of charge, right? Yeah. So, but in our country, we use lots of pirated softwares, like pirated copies. So, like pirating means you are using a licensed software illegally. So it is a crime in short term, right? But in Sri Lanka, it is not very much pressed into individuals who are using pirated softwares, right? But when you consider the European countries and the organizations in our country, they must use the licensed version, otherwise they are like square to the legal now this legal actions and all these things, right? Because it is illegal to use the pirated softwares when you need to buy it and use it in the legal manner, right? So now when you consider the Windows, previously it was just for the computer types. That means the desktops, the laptops, and all these things. But if you take nowadays, it is there in every devices, right? So like labs, PCs, phones are there, tablets are there. You can see Windows in a lot of devices now, right? And as per your information, we are using the Windows 10 for these days, and it is having updates. Like it was implemented in 2015, it was launched in 2015. So from 2015, Microsoft haven't issued any other version of Windows. It is just Windows 10, which is getting updates over the period. Yes, Vinod, as per my knowledge, it is programmed with the C language, the Windows. Yeah, and Apple operating system, or like the suitable name, the correct name is the Macintosh operating system. In short form, we call it the Mac OS. It is specifically for Apple devices. We can't purchase the Apple operating system and put it in a device that we want, right? So if you need to experience the Mac OS, you need to buy the device as well, right? So like if you really want to experience a Macintosh operating system, you have to purchase it with the device, right? You can't you can go to the market and purchase the Macintosh operating system, but Windows you can purchase. You can download it from the Microsoft website as well. So you can activate it by purchasing a license key, where you have to pay like 20 to 30,000 rupees to purchase that key. And I recently found out there are keys in the eBay for a very cheap price, right? So and those won't cost you like 1,000 rupees. Even I have used some of the keys, still I'm not getting any problems. So recently Windows has given the authority for the people to resell their license keys. So the people who are using the Windows and people who are using the Windows and people who has used the Windows, and now the people who are like not using that version, or like shifted into a new computer system, is there to resell it, right? And if you visit to the eBay site, you can find many different or like a list of sellers who are selling this Windows 10 professional keys, right? So you can purchase it for 1,000 or 2,500 rupees. So it's better you have a one, because using a pirated software will lead you to some technical difficulties, right? Especially when you are using the Windows 10. With the updates, it will track you that you are using. If they track you, if you are using a pirated copy, they tend to give some issues. Updates are right? And yes, Minul. That's why I'm telling those things are being resold, right? So Seran, for your question, the answer is we can't say an exact size, right? So if you take Windows 10, it will take like 2 to 3 gigabytes to get installed, right? Previously, it was lesser in the previous version, and it can change from operating system to operating system, right? Okay, so that is the Macintosh operating system, which is given by the Apple Incorporation. And this Ubuntu, Android, and Hanta on Linux, those things are free versions, right? So like the free and open source softwares. Yes, Minul, but it's not the original one, right? As per my knowledge, we can't purchase the original macOS for other devices. You can purchase it for like in the jailbreak manner. Yeah, because Apple softwares or like the Macintosh softwares are the softwares which are having the security at its best so far, right? So they are pretty much restricted with the other devices. Right, so Ubuntu operating system, Android operating system, and Hanta Linux. So like when it comes to the Ubuntu, you should have been heard the word which is called Linux. Linux is a operating system which is free and open source, right? So you can download the Linux by visiting to the visiting their website, and you can install it. It is a little bit different from the appearance. But nowadays they are very competitive with the Apple and Windows, but still they can't match it. Even though they can't match it, they have some brilliant features where the Windows and Mac has copied from them, right? So I'll show you some Linux interfaces, right? This is one of the Linux interfaces, right? Right, so this is from Linux OS home screen, right? So it is pretty much very similar to your Windows, much similar to the Apple iOS, right? Or the Macintosh, right? And this is the Isuru Linux home screen, as I remember. Yeah, Isuru Linux is like this, right? So it is something very similar to the Macintosh operating system, right? And let me show you the Hantana Linux as well. Yeah, so this is Hantana Linux, which is done by the Peradeniya University students. එකින් අයියලක් කළ තමයි මේක manage කරගෙන යන්නේ. So it is by the so the reason why they can have their own Linux version, because Linux is a free and open source software. So free and open source means anyone can have that operating system and can change according to their requirement, right? So if you are having the knowledge of changing the operating system, you can build your own version. Yes, I am getting some chat messages. So what is the best operating system? That depends on the user, Saran. So like most of the people are stuck into or like sticking to the Windows and Apple because they are very much user friendly, and it is the one we can see around us, right? But if you take Android, it is an operating system and it will be very much user friendly as well. Now the devices are there with the Android operating system, the computers as well, right? So operating system depends with the user friendliness and the එක අපි පාවිච්චි කරන පුරුදු වෙන විදිහත් එක්කත් depend වෙනවා, right? Yeah, there are people who are using Linux, Minul. There are a lot of people using Linux. Maybe to Sri Lanka, if the Microsoft press legal issues, we may also need to buy Windows, or otherwise we have to shift into a version like Linux. And when you get used to it, you won't be able to get out of it. There are friends of mine in my degree batch who are still who were using the Linux on those days, like 10, 12 years back, and still using the Linux, right? And it is highly capable. මේ Windows එයාගේ මෙන්න මේ component එක මේ task view කියන මෙන්න මේ task view කියන component එක copy කරන්නේ Linux ගෙන්. This was there like 10-15 years back in the Linux, right? It was not there in the Windows until 2015, right? And Linux is the Linux was the operating system which introduced a cubicle, a cube kind of a desktop. Cube kind of a desktop කියලා කියන්නේ desktop එක යාට පුළුවන් මේ කෙලවරෙන් අල්ලලා කරකවන්න. එතකොට cube එකක් විදිහට තමයි desktop එක හැදිලා තිබෙන්නේ. So that means you can maintain 6 desktop at once. ඒකත් Windows introduce කරනවා number of desktop කියලා මේ මෙතනින් අපිට පුළුවන් new desktop එකක් ගන්න. So ඒක introduce වෙන්නේ බොහොම recently, right? So those are some fascinating things which was there in the Linux. And the people who are not having the purchasing power in the European countries as well, they tend to use this Linux and all these things, as well as now Android is doing some radical changes, the revolution inside the operating system sector, because Android is free and Google is the one who owns it, right? I really don't know, I really not using this thing, so I'm not very much update about the Linux, but I think they may having the updates, right? And in most of the cases, they may have in hand-to-hand with the Android as well. Right, okay. That is a new thing for me. Harmony OS, right? From which one, who is the producer? Huawei. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that was one kind of an opportunity for Huawei being blocked by the Google. Yes. So it was a nice opportunity for them, even though they have blocked by the Google recently. But now the Google allowed them to have the operating system, but they are having their own now. Yes, so likewise about this free and open source operating systems. So it is developed by the people all around the world who have a very good knowledge about making operating system and doing it for free of charge, right? Because of the well-being of the countries which cannot use the licensed version, because it's if you take even if you take a country like Sri Lanka, we all do not have 30 to 40,000 rupees to purchase the operating system for ourselves. So and the countries like the most of the countries in the world, they are having the same problem. So it is a very good deed which is done by these programmers for the world. They are doing it like for non-profit, like ලාභ නොමැතිව ඒගොල්ලෝ ස්වේච්ඡාවෙන් කරන දෙයක්, which should be very much appreciated, right? So even from our education ministry, they have created this Hantana Linux, which is free and open source. We can use that if you want. We can get installed into our computer. The installation procedure is a little bit complex, but will be a very good experience if you had a chance to experience it. And the schools who are having this Mahindodaya laboratories, computer laboratories, are given the facility to experience Hantana Linux. Not Hantana Linux, the Isuru Linux. Right, so the Android operating system, I really don't need to tell things about this. You know most of the things better than me, right? So it is come up as a mobile device operating system, but now it is being penetrated to the desktops laptops as well as for the smart TV and all these things, right? So Android is the reason. Android is the main reason for Windows and Apple to have some applications free on their stores. Earlier, they didn't had any free applications like Android has. Since the Android start to give the free start to give things free of charge, Windows and Apple had to give things, otherwise they are on a way to lose their market from those from their cooperation to Android. Yes, Minu, that's correct. Right. So moving forward, I'm not going to give notes regarding these different kinds of OSs. You know about it, and it's better you know there are two types, which is licensed versions and free and open source. We short form we says FOSS, free and open source software, like FOSS, FOSS. So there are two types, licensed and free and open sources. Yeah, now these are the types, that means the major types of the operating system, right? So there are many ways of categorizing the operating system. This is one way. This is regarding the user and the task, right? So there are four types they are introducing in your book: single user operating system, multi-user operating system, multitasking, and real-time operating system. And I'll show you some pictures to get the idea about how single user, multi-user, multitasking is working. Yeah, so so like single user operating system. No, Omar, like pirated OS means like when the OS is there to purchase, you are using it without purchasing, like by downloading and cracking the software. So it is still operating system, but it's a pirated one, right? Minul, I'm not getting your question. Are servers operating system as they are based on the cloud? What do you mean by that, Minul? I'm not getting it. All right, so single user operating system. So now the operating system that I am using is a single user operating system. So I am just one single user just using this operating system to do my work. So we call this a single user operating system. So it's facilitate a single user at a time. And there are many different operating systems, like we talk, the operating systems that we know: Windows, iOS, Android, Linux, and these what Isru Linux, Hantan Linux, all these things can be categorized as a single user computer system, right? Yes, Binadi, yeah, I'll come to your question. Minul, I think what you are asking is like cloud based services, or like cloud based servers are operating system or not, right? Is that what you are, what you need to know?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so like we are, for the moment, we are having a one cloud based operating system which is given by the Google. So like it is based on the Google services, like the Docs, all these things. But when it comes to the server softwares, it may depends on the cloud, that means the internet, or it may not, right? But server software is something else. That means you can connect the computers to a server to have the services, right? Which is a little bit advanced. But again, there are server OSs as well, like Windows Server, and there are Linux servers as well, right? And Binadi, the command prompt can be taken in your computer like this. So you just have the your program menu and just type CMD, right? So this is what you call the command prompt. So once you click it, here we go. This is the first operating system by the Microsoft, right? So I am in the C drive inside the user folder, and again inside users folder and inside the user folder, right? So you can create folders using the commands like mkdir, like there are command types there. So whatever you are going to type, you have to type it as a command. So if I just say dir, it's going to show you the things inside the user directory, right? And if I say cd space change directory desktop, it changes to the desktop. And if I say dir to list the things inside that desktop, so it shows me the things, right, with the names like cat jpg is there, elephant jpg is there, gimp shortcut is there, and look at my desktop. And this is my desktop. So the files are being listed. So tiger, cat, elephant jpgs are there, right? Table.html is here, right? So all the things will be shown in here. So previously it was like this. I'm very sure that I'm not going to be a computer teacher. It was like this for today, right? Like maybe right? I will choose something else, right? So I think you won't be able to use it as well, right? Comparing to today, it's very boring, right? Yes, yes, Vinod, because CMD is one of the best thing to do the things in the very fast manner, and when you are knowing the codes, right? Or mouse and click කරනදී ගොඩාක් වේගෙන් දේවල් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Right. Yeah, as well as PowerShell. It is something very similar to the command prompt. Right, so moving forward, so we were talking about the operating system types. So this is called the single user. And when it comes to the server versions, that is becoming the multi-user thing, which is not in your book, as I remember. Multi-user is there. So multi-user means now මම මෙතන මේ පින්තූරේ දාලා තියෙන්නේ ඔයගලන්ට අයිඩියා එකක් ගන්න. මේ විතර තුන් දෙනාම එකක වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. Like it is having a network, right? So you are having a server software inside a one single computer, and that computer is connected with other computers. So server computer is giving the service to the other computers, so other computers can access that computer and have the operating system service through that, right? So එහෙම වුණාම අපිට පොඩ්ඩක් cost එක අඩු කරගෙන we can do a lot of things. So the one single operating system which is inside the server are being used by different users. Right now, if you think about the Google Drive, it is one kind of a shared OS, or like the or a multi-user thing. People just excuse me for a moment. Right. Okay. Sorry for the disturbance. So if you take the Google Drive, we can experience the Google OS. So this OS is given the ability for you to create some, use some applications. These are the applications, right? So like the operating system, we can create the folders, we can create the files, and we can do a lot of things, right? So there are many different softwares or the applications inside it. So these are the applications softwares which is inside the Google OS. So it's a one good operating system. So I think very near future, you are going to experience the operating system in an online way like this, right? So you only need the device. You don't need to install the operating system specifically. You only need a browser to get connect with the operating system, right? So there will be devices with the browser only, and once you log into your browser, like once you connected with the browser, uh, you can do anything you want, right? Right, okay. Right, so likewise, you can have a multi-user operating system. Now, this particular, in this Google Drive, I can open up a Google document and I can work on that, as well as in the very same time, I can ask you to come and work on that very same application. So you and me is using the very same operating system.
Sir, do people buy storage when they
Yes, Minul.
Sir, do people buy storage when they run out of storage in the Google Drive?
Yes, yes, yes. So like you can buy the storage in the monthly basis or yearly basis uh, when according to their requirement, right? They are given us the 15 GB space as a free package. So when you ran out of it, you can use that. Right, okay. So moving forward, it is there something called multitask. So with the multitask, it better we use the term the single task as well. So single task operating system, MS-DOS is going to be a single task operating system. So one task at a time, right? So once I give the command, it will execute according to the command. That's all. The multitask operating system are the operating system that we use, right? The මේ වෙලාවේ මගේ desktop එකේ there are several tasks. Windows Explorer is there, the browser is there, Zoom is there, Adobe is there, right? And my whiteboard is there. So like different tasks, multitask is there on the operating system. So it is called the multitask.
But
Yes,
Windows
sir.
also falls into a single user, right?
Didn't get you, Minul.
Apart from multitask operating systems, Windows also falls into a single user.
Yes, yes. Windows Server is the only one which goes with the multi-user thing. Right, so Seren, yes, it is only one Google Drive for one account. Right, so you can extend the capacity if you want. Right, so those are the operating systems like single user, multi-user, and multitasking. Right, and the real-time operating system, which are being used in ATM machines. Now, when it comes to the calculator, it's really not a operating system that we are using, right? So if you take a GPS system, right? So GPS is a real-time operating system where we have to update and where it gives us the output instantly when we are providing the inputs, right? So in robots, in GPS systems, ATM machines, and all these things, they use this real-time operating system which act or which respond instantly for the inputs. So we tell them it is outputting things in the real time, right? So if you think about the Google map, it will output the details according to the traffic, right? So instantly it is giving us the updates. Now this is happening, and now this is the way of the traffic ahead of you, right? Okay, so people, I need you to copy this down. Like copying means it's better you say types of operating systems. So you should have the subtopic, right, as well as the explanation of these 4 types, right? So like from starting from single user operating system until the real-time operating system, right? So please mark it and copy it to your book, right? Later I will ask you to send me the screenshots whether you to check whether you have done it or not, right? So it's better you copy down the things. I'm just saying the things which are mostly important for you, right? Okay, so yeah, types of operating systems, and you don't need this first paragraph which introduce it. Just go for these 4 types: single user, multi-user, multitasking, and real-time. Right, people, is it clear so far? Do you got any questions? All right, how about others? Okay. Right, okay. All right, so moving forward, services of an operating system. So now these are the important parts of the OS, right? Like why the OS is there is clarified by these points. So the operating system basically is having 2 important things. One thing is, the most important thing is the second one, providing user interface. Now what we are experiencing is a user interface. We are having a taskbar, we are having these windows, we are having icons, shortcuts, files and folders, right? So we are having even a very little one, one with a very limited knowledge can still interact with this device, right? දැන් මගේ පුංචි දුවත් computer එක interact වෙනවා, phone එකත් එක්ක interact වෙනවා, because it is user friendly, right? And because the interface, right? So the major thing that the operating system does, one major thing that the operating system does, the providing user interfaces, right? And the other important thing is the managing hardware of the computer, right? So in the sense of hardware management, there are 6 categories: process management, memory management, device management, file management, security, and network management, right? So those are the topics that we are going to discuss right after here. So remember the most important 2 things that the OS does: managing the hardware of a computer and providing the interface, right? Okay, so I need you to copy this particular thing as well, services of an operating system. So and starting from here, there are 2 main services performed by an operating system. They are managing hardware of a computer, providing user interface. You better write that under this topic, services of an operating system. And starting from here, there are 2 main services performed by an operating system. They are managing the hardware of the computer, providing user interface. Please mark those things, right? So then you can copy it down. So regarding the management, so first they are talking about the process management. Yes. Now process management, you have to understand it like this. When you create when you execute a program, That means just assume you are playing a game, right? So how you are going to play the game? You are going to double click on the play game icon, right? So once you double click on it, the game will get executed. ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න ගන්නවා. So if any program get executed, it creates a component called process. Not just one component, it creates many components, right? So these processes must be managed by the operating system. Otherwise, otherwise, these programs or processes are not given a timeline or not given a way of working inside the computer. So operating system is the one who is managing these processes. He decides which process is going to execute in the CPU, because CPU is executing one single process per time. එක වෙලාවට එක process එකයි ඇතුලේ තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ, right? So I'll show you a picture, right, to that. Oh no, it's at the beginning. Yeah, so this is the way that the operating system creating or like managing the processors, right? So there are several processors inside the RAM, and only one is given the chance to execute inside the CPU. So operating system will manage who is going to run inside and who is going to wait inside the RAM. And due to some reasons, the programs will get freeze inside the CPU. So those times, operating system will change the process that is going to run inside the CPU, and operating system will take the responsibility to keep the CPU busy all the time. CPU idle වෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ, නිකන් ඉන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? So operating system will choose which program is going to run inside the CPU for which amount of time, what is the next one is going to run, right? So how those processes are being managed. So now if there are like more than one program is running, there will be processors of those several programs, right? එක program එකකට වැඩි run වෙනකොට AA program එකට අදාළව processors හැදෙනවා. So operating system will decide which process regarding which program is going to run inside the CPU. And operating system will do these things in a very fast manner, so which we are not sensing. It is switching the processes here and there, right? So because if you take the CPU execute the things, so like the CPU running the things in gigahertz, right? So like 2.4 gigahertz, 3.7 gigahertz, likewise. So that means it can execute billions of instructions per second, right? So we won't be able to track that or sense that it is executing things in a simultaneous manner, right? So the process management is such where the operating system helps for processors to get managed inside the processor as well as inside the RAM, right? So in the memory management, it is again regarding the how the memory is being managed by the operating system. So operating system is the one who's responsible to keep the memory in a free manner. The memory එක පුළුවන් තරම් free විදියට ඉන්න ඕනේ අපිට operating system එක smoothly run කරගන්න අවශ්‍ය නැත්නම් OS එක smoothly වැඩ කරගන්න. So in other way around, OS won't let RAM to get busy, so it manages. So there is a concept called virtual memory, where the operating system takes the help of the hard disk to keep the RAM, the random access memory, the main memory, is a not busy place, right? එතකොට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට processors ගොඩක් හැදෙන්න ගත්තම RAM එක පිරෙනකොට operating system will take the help of the hard disk and keep some processors inside the hard disk and make the RAM as a free area where it can process its work. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. It will last because we are having just another 5 minutes, right? It will last. It will help the RAM to make things or like execute things in a smooth way, right? Right. And as well as it decides which memory slots inside the RAM are going to use for which kind of processes, right? May jobs කියලා පේන්නේ. Those are the things that are going to stay inside the RAM. So OS will decide which one is going to be inside the RAM and which one is not, right? So that is regarding the memory management, right? So when it comes to the device management, as your picture describes, so all the devices in the computer system, that means regarding the input devices, output devices, storage devices, right, memory devices, everything is going to be in the control of operating system. Yeah, yes, Minu. Chrome application is one of the application which are utilizing the memory in most of the cases, right? So when you are given a printout, so operating system is managing the printer, which is the output device, along with the application, right? So application says, so the operating system says to the printer, okay, there is a request from an application to print something out, so it's better you execute this thing, right? So when you are playing a game, your joystick is given the commands, and operating system is the one who is taking that commands and letting the application know what command has been given from the joystick, right? So remember playing without the operating system, so no one will be there for you to manage your buttons of your game controller, right? So likewise, OS is responsible for managing all the devices which is connected to the operating system, right? And when it comes to the file management, without the operating system, there won't be a component called folder, right? The folders hambene operating system එක නිසා, right? And these folders allows us to categorize our files. Now files are being created from the application programs. Application programs වලට අදාළ තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට files හැදෙන්නේ. Even other softwares are creating the files as well, but in most of the files are created according to the application softwares. So if there were no such component called folders, there will be files everywhere in your computer without a categorization, which will give us a very big headache of managing the files, right? So because of the things, because of the operating system, you are able to create a folder and put things inside it and manage and categorize these things, as well as renaming, copying, pasting, moving, cut and paste things, and all the facilities regarding the files are given by the operating system. As well as if you need to know about the details of the files, we can use the properties of the files as well. And there are another specific thing regarding the file managing, where we can mark a file as a readable one, or a writable one, or an executable one, or with some more options like read and write and execute and all these things. Those are called file privileges, right? Which are helping for the security part as well, right? So I think most of the file operations are known to you because you are interacting with the computer, right? And yeah, Now I need you to take your concentration into this activity as well. This shows the types of files that can be stayed inside the operating system. FAT16 was the very old file system which contains inside the operating system, and the FAT32 and NTFS are the most common types that we are using these days, as well as ext4. That is going to come very soon, huh? No. Okay. Let us see. All right, you are going to stay with me. Right. So you have to stay with me and be silent, huh? And these files and folders can be accessed on this manner. You can access it in the sequential manner, or you can access it in the random manner. So the sequential manner means what? You are going to access the files like one after the other. එහෙම වෙන්න නම් ෆයිල් එක එක ළඟ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ෆයිල් එකේ තියෙන components ටික ඔක්කොම should be stay together, right? And random access will give you the access manner to access it from here and there, right? Next week, I'll show you some diagrams showing how the sequential access and random access happens inside the hard disk. So that reference is given by the operating system for the files when it is getting managed, right? Okay, so regarding this management, I'll give you the notes by next week, right? Because you have enough notes to take down on your book, as I marked in your books previously, right? So please maintain the note, complete it, and hopefully we will be able to finish the lesson by next week, right? Since we are like done with a lot of management type. So we can do the practical part, which you already know by the next week. It's a very simple practicals are there, right? And we'll discuss the rest of the lesson by next week, and hopefully we will try our best to complete the lesson by next week, right? There are some stuff to be discussed, so let's see. Okay, people, so I'm going to end up the session by this point. Thank you very much for today's session, right? And I'll let you know a few more details by next week. Yes, thank you very much, people. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend. Thanks for coming, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.